Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Aico TV. I'm Alex Garmston.
And I'm Holly Moore.
And today we have an action-packed episode lined up for you. We have electrical apprentices from Coleg Cambria being interviewed by Dan Thomas.
Then we have our Regional Specification Managers, Tony Boyle and Gregor Morrison, and they're going to be chewing the facts.
And this will be followed by an insight into the FIA with Andy Speak.
And lastly, we'll cover another frequently asked question, and this week we're going to explore how to maintain your alarms.
Last month we had the pleasure of welcoming two electrical apprentices from Coleg Cambria, along with their curriculum lead, Alex Robinson, into the studio. Our Regional Specification Manager, Dan Thomas, had the pleasure of interviewing all three of them to find out a little more about what an electrical apprentice gets up to at Coleg Cambria, what the course entails, and their hopes and aspirations for the future. Let's take a look at this interview.
Hi and welcome to Aico TV. I'm Dan Thomas, Specification Manager for Wales. Today we're with Coleg Cambria in Wrexham to go through a few bits about the college. So I'd just like to introduce everyone. This is Alex. Alex, would you just like to say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hello, my name is Alex Robinson. I am the curriculum lead for building services at Coleg Cambria Bersham Road.
And Conor and Patrick, would you like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Conor Cooper. I'm a student at Coleg Cambria.
I'm Patrick Williams. I'm also a student at Coleg Cambria.
Thank you, guys. So we're here for sort of a general chat really about the college and some of the work we've been doing with Coleg Cambria in the past. So Alex, would you like to tell us a bit about the actual college itself?
Yeah, so the Coleg Cambria, we've got 5 campuses. The campus that I'm based at in Bersham Road, Wrexham, is solely dedicated to construction and engineering. Where I'm involved is in the electrical installation programs, and Conor and Patrick, they are some of our full-time level 2 electrical installation students. We offer level 1, level 2, level 3 full-time for those who want to get into the industry. So if there's any contractors out there looking for an apprentice, we've got 2 good guys here, and we've got a lot more waiting in the wings as well. We also run our apprenticeship programs. We have our own in-house training provider, and also we subcontract to JTL as well. We deliver the knowledge units for that. And then for the qualified tradesmen out there, we run the 2382, the regulation update courses, and the 2391, the inspection and testing program. So
excellent. So from an electrical point of view then, what sort of college courses are available at Coleg Cambria?
I think I've pretty much covered it in what we've been through there. Like I say, with the full-time provision, it's 3 days a week. We say full-time, it's 3 days a week. That's what these guys are studying. So it's made up of day practical based, and the rest of the week, when we say full-time, it's 3 days a week. So it's theory and regulation, science and principle, and there is some maths and literacy tuition involved as well. And then the apprenticeship programme is day release. So we have the apprentices, they're work-based 4 days a week, and they come to us a day as well.
Excellent. Yeah, I just realised I repeated the question, to be honest, after I said it. So for a few years now, we've actually been collaborating with Coleg Cambria at various sites, but a lot through the Bersham Road site, doing our expert installer CPD accredited training with different years. How has that benefited yourselves and the students from your perspective?
Well, regardless of whether it's a full-time programme or an apprenticeship programme, as part of the knowledge, they need to gain an understanding of the different types of detectors that are available, how they're installed in terms of wiring, in terms of sighting, in terms of circuit protection. Do they go on their own circuit, dedicated, or are they linked in with lighting? So it's understanding the reasons behind those options, and we're lucky in that we have got the guys on Aico on the doorstep, and you've kindly invited us into the centre because, you know, it's nice for the students and the apprentices to hear it from someone else and actually be able to get hands-on with the equipment and come, you know, to the great facilities you get here. Not only are they going to get the knowledge that they need in order to support them with their exams, but like you said, they're going to get a CPD accredited, you know, industry recognised training that's going to go towards their CPD and for their CV as well. So it just gives that added bonus. And historically, we've done it face to face. You know, we've travelled to you, and you've delivered the training in house, but recently, over the past 12 months, obviously it's like everything else in the world. It's
a slight change of pace, absolutely.
It's moved online, but you know, I don't think it's lost any of its potency. And you know, obviously we can't wait to get back in, and especially with the new facilities. But no, I think on all 3 lockdowns you've been delivering training. It's gone down really well. Yeah,
I've enjoyed it myself, to be honest with you. It's something that since I've started doing the role and actually getting involved with the college, in particular Coleg Cambria, it's been really fun to sort of you know, to do the training with the students. It's always been well received. Yeah, the last the last 3 lockdowns has been a little bit different. It's not been quite the same. You can't gauge that level of interaction. All the screens are on, and you know, but it's like any Teams meeting. You just get staring at that screen. Yeah. There's no eye contact. There's no body language. It's just a bit awkward, really, isn't it? Yeah. So as a presenter, I find it just a bit, and you must find the same. It's awkward. You can gauge your room when you're in the room, can't you? But you can tell people off. So.
No, we don't have to do that very often with these guys, I say. But I mean, yeah, like you say, it's hard to gauge that. You read the body language to gauge that level of understanding and to see if what you're talking about is coming across, or whether you need to sort of pitch it in a different way or come at it from a different angle. So that's been one of the big difficulties, trying to read the room and see, are they getting it? Is this going in? Do I need to change tack? And I think that's been the biggest difficulty. But, you know, to be fair, if there is understanding, even if it's not there, if people don't want to put themselves out in the forum, I know people have been coming back to me with emails and questions. And
well, that's good. At least you still getting the interaction afterwards, which is great. Yeah.
And we have been able to, you know, there's been times where we've done, you know, we've set up just like a mini meet, you know, with one student where it's like, oh, I've got a question, I'm struggling with this, and it's just been send a link out, and it's like a little one-to-one, 10 minutes, and that you know, there is that advantage as well. It's not a case of once they leave the class. I think it's opened it out a little bit.
I think there is one benefit to all of this. Is I would say it to a lot of customers. If this was 10, 15 years ago, we wouldn't have had this level of engagement. You know, it would be a heck of a lot more difficult for me to do my job personally, not being able to go out and see them. So at least we've got that, and at least you have some form of engagement as opposed to telephone calls, which is again even worse than a Teams meeting or a Google Meet. You know, so I'll switch it back to you guys actually. Then just on the same note, really, with regards to lockdown and your virtual learning, how have you found it?
I found it a bit better than actually being in college because I work, so I've been able to go onto site and work, and then still manage to meet the criteria for college. And so it was a bit of an easy, you know, transition.
For me, I'd say it's been okay. It could be a little bit better, but compared to certain other people who might not find learning online very easy, obviously they might find certain things harder to grasp online over the screen, like you mentioned earlier, compared to me. I find myself as fairly able to learn stuff fairly easily, in a sense. Yeah.
And I know what you mean. It's I personally, I'm sort of more of a hands-on learning sort of person. You know, so if you can get involved, you know, product-wise, you know, you can get involved and interact with it and understand it better. Whether if it's over a screen, I would personally find that quite difficult. You know, so brilliant.
I mean, my hat goes out to these guys because I mean, you know, all the students they've had, you know, the the latest unit's been delivered solely online, and it's different to last year in that they're still sitting the same assessments, still sitting the same exams that they would be expected to had it been face-to-face. And, you know, you two both passed with high marks, and if anything, you could say that you've earned that exam result more so than anyone, because I think what people have had to take a little bit more onus and a bit more responsibility for their own learning as well. So, and you know, a lot, you know, hats off to a lot of the students that really have done that, and they're getting the results that's reflective of the effort they're putting in. So
yeah, it's a difficult time for all the students. You know, I feel I've got 2 kids myself, and it's you know, you see the sort of well, my son, the lack of engagement. My daughter, quite the opposite. You know, it's difficult. You know, it's I suppose we're fortunate being of a certain age that we've never had to go through this. So I do sort of feel sorry for you guys. You know, it's not the best scenario, but as you say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger and all that. So yeah, excellent. So regards to the training, sort of post training with the students, I'll put it to you first, Alex. What are the sort of benefits? Have you seen any benefits come out from the sessions? Questions, interaction from the students?
yeah, I know that after the training, obviously, like I said previously, we've covered elements that are going to be coming up in an exam, you know, several weeks after that training has taken place. And I'm seeing that students are consistently performing well in those questions as a follow-up. Because I think as well, sometimes it helps to hear this information from multiple people. You know, they hear it from me, they hear it from you guys, and I think sometimes hearing it pitched in different ways and different presenters, and you know, especially when they can come in-house and get hands-on, and they can, you know, they can see your mock bungalow, they can visualise this, because like we said, a lot of the learners that we have in construction engineering, they are hands-on, they need that practical link to the theoretical knowledge, and I think especially when we do come in-house and we deliver it in your training centres, I think they can make that link and they can visualise it. And obviously you've got the smoke test that you do, so they can see how this technology operates and how it all fits together.
Yeah, again, back to the point of sort of hands-on learning, isn't it? You know, it's when we're talking about sensor technology, it's quite a dull subject when we're talking about it, but when you can visualise it, you know, it's all the better. So you guys, just from memory, you haven't been up to the centre for any training before?
No.
Online.
No.
How did you find the online training yourselves then? Well, what have you taken from it, I should say? Cut. Sorry, I landed that one on you, mate. It's all right. No worries. If you haven't got an answer, don't worry about it. You know. So.
Well, I remember that we went through like the various different types of fire alarms now for like houses and where you might have in certain buildings and certain parts of the building. But I didn't previously know that there were like 4 or 5 different types of alarms for specific things, and the technology was made so that you could have all them alarms built into one. So that was definitely something that I learned, which was very interesting.
So Alex, the Skills Electric competition, something that Aico have sort of helped out with in the last couple of years. Would you like to just tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, so Skill Electric is a series of national competitions feeding in ultimately to the World Skills UK final that takes place every year in November. So the way it works is, you know, a student or apprentice will register in March, usually around this time of the year. And then there'll be a series of regional competitions that take place across the UK, Wales, Scotland, several throughout England, and eventually they'll feed into a final of 8 competitors who will compete at the NEC in what's called World Skills UK Live. And it's not only electrical, any construction discipline, engineering, catering, any sort of job role or FE course that you can think of we'll have some form of competition that's been running throughout the year to ultimately host the final at this event. And it's a big, it takes up several sort of sections within the NEC, so it is a huge event. Big employers from across the country, all hosting. You get school children coming in from, again, across the country for this event to see sort of the best of the best young tradesmen and women or people that are working in the industry that they may want to ultimately go into. So I'm one of the judges for the national competitions, and in the past we've hosted regional events at Bersham Road and Aico and other organisations. We try to replicate that NEC vibe as much as we can by running a trade show in conjunction with it, and yourself and others have offered technical talks and a trade exhibition at the event, so that it, as well as the competition going on, that people can walk around and look. There's also tech talks and trade stands, so it does feel like it is an event at the regional as well as the UK final. There's also feeder competitions as well, so Connor and Patrick, they were due to compete at a Welsh regional competition, so a North Wales event run by Inspiring Skills Excellence in Wales. So they run their own sort of feeder competitions to give people a chance to sort of cut their teeth and get a feel for competition. So hopefully then they can progress into it and ultimately maybe get a place at that UK final. And we've had good success at Coleg Cambria at the minute. We've got a former apprentice who is in Squad UK. He was competing for a place to represent the country in electrical installation in, what was supposed to be Shanghai 2021 is now Shanghai 2022. So hopefully, otherwise he's going to be, potentially, 30, 40-year-old man by the time he ultimately gets there. But yeah, it's a really great opportunity. I mean, skills competitions are quite prolific now.
I must admit, I think it was a really well done setup. So guys, obviously with the pandemic and being home learning, how have you found sort of the online experience? Have you enjoyed it? Is there any sort of negatives that you found?
I've enjoyed it quite a bit because I've been working on site, so I've been able to carry on with work and just take an hour or 2 hours out and go on the Google Meets or the classrooms or whatever, and actually still make the lessons while still being able to work at the same time.
Excellent. And Patrick?
I found it pretty good, but I could also understand how certain students might have struggled to learn online and understand certain work. For example, with our electronic principles, some of the lessons there online, they're different to face-to-face learning. So I could see how people could struggle there, but personally for me, I'm very keen when it comes to learning and learning new skills. So I personally felt it was good.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of talking about being in work. You see him, he's got the camera on, you can see he's sitting in the works vehicle, yeah. He's got his textbook there, he's got his notepad, he's got his on-site guide, and we're going through a lesson. You can see that he is in the works van, and he's stepped off site, he's having his lesson, and then you always say at the end of the lesson, do you mind if I just hand in the work later on because I'm working for the rest of the day? And to be fair to you, every time you get home from work and you're on it. So
that's some serious commitment, to be fair. I mean, I don't think people appreciate apprenticeships. The actual level of commitment you need to put into it. Yes, obviously you've got the college work, but then you're going to still do a full day's work. So that's kudos to anyone who does an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
So just one final question to Alex. It's something we had a bit of a giggle about a couple of weeks back. Something you told me which I didn't realise. So what was the first electrical product you ever installed?
Yeah, so I mean we've sort of known each other now for several years, and it's never something that I've popped into my head. And we were just having a bit of a chat about today, and I said, oh, actually, because this does sound like we shoehorn this in. It looks like I'm going to go to another manufacturer and say exactly the same thing. But it was in 2003 when I was doing work experience. I was still it was the year I left school, so I was doing work experience with a small local contractor in Flintshire. It was a local authority job, and the job was just to go around local authority housing and retrospectively fit mains wired smoke detectors. So it was go into the property, radio link bases, one at the bottom of the stairs, one at the top of the stairs, feed from the nearest light fitting, and link them up. So yeah, that was the first piece of electrical equipment that I ever installed. Obviously, I didn't terminate it, but you know, getting the cable in, fitting the base, and yeah, and I mean, I think it would have been quite early in the...
That was when the technology came out, yeah. So yeah, very, very fresh back in the day there. So yeah, obviously privy to some unusual technology back in there.
Yeah, because I remember being like really, really impressed with it, and it's like, oh wow, and you could see that, you know, the electrician that was working with synced up the devices, and yeah, so you know, seeing something like that, obviously that's the sort of thing you get into the industry for, isn't it? You know, that technology, and like you say, that was like you say, that was innovative at the time. So, you know, to see that on your first sort of job, you're like, oh wow, that's really interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, again, you know, technology changes over time, and it's just so nice. It must be refreshing, you know, to see new stuff coming in, like some of the Aico stuff. Not going to go into detail, but you know, the newer technologies that are coming out must just be inspiring to sort of, as an installer, to go, well, that's new, that's interesting, you know, and move on just from the absolute basics to then all these little things, you know, the internet of things, smart homes and things like that, you know, must be. It's something that you can see electricians getting really excited about, which is cool, you know.
Yeah, and it's great for me to have. That's why it's great for me to have access to sort of apprentices as well, because, you know, they're out there in the world more than myself and other lecturers. So obviously, you know, we have a responsibility to keep up to date in CPD. But like I say, they'll say, "Oh, we saw this in work today," and I say, "Oh, that's interesting. Tell me about that." And I think that's where some people don't realise the benefit of apprentices as well, because, you know, they're a different era to us, and there is, you know, there's, like you've mentioned, the internet of things. That is their bag more so than maybe our sort of generation. So even though they're not necessarily bringing the technical skills to the table, they need that. They're the people that are going to really be able to support the employer with, you know, the modern technology and the apps and the internet-based products that they're probably going to pick up a bit more intuitively than maybe you or I would.
Well, absolutely. Again, just to sort of highlight my son, you know, he's 17, and I have to ask him a lot of questions about the technology that's coming out. You know, how do you do this? Can you sort that out for me? Wiring something up, yeah, no problem at all. But you know, just actually understanding some of the tech and again, some of the new technologies, it's pretty cool. Exciting time to sort of become nearly qualified, really. So yeah. So guys, you're obviously full-time students. Why did you choose electrical installation?
I chose electrical installation because I've worked in other areas of the building industry. So then I came across electrical installation while I was working on site for a company, and I found it interesting learning about all technology and how it works pretty much. So yeah, then I started looking for college courses. Obviously the first one I came up was Coleg Cambria. So yeah, I just kind of stumbled into it pretty much, and loved it since. It's been great. So yeah.
For me, it was after learning more about the industry as a whole from engineering. I learned a lot about the industry and the difference between, for example, a mechanically biased course and an electrically biased course.
So I'd just like to bring it to an end by saying thank you very much, Alex. I really appreciate your time. It's been very enjoyable. I hope you've had fun as well. And Patrick and Connor, thank you. Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you. It was fantastic to hear from Connor, Patrick and Alex at Coleg Cambria. A real insight there into what an electrical apprentice gets up to, and it was great to hear their aspirations for the future. Now we're going to take a short break and take a look at our SmartLink Gateway.
Introducing the SmartLink Gateway and Cloud Portal service from Aico. A new and innovative product developed with registered social landlords and housing associations, giving you complete control and reassurance when monitoring and maintaining your stock of alarms through SmartLink Cloud Portal. Easy to set up, the Gateway is a roaming 2G GSM-based device, ensuring maximum connectivity possible without the need for local broadband or Wi-Fi services, increasing efficiency while remaining compliant with legislation. Featuring real-time alarm status, fault status, text alert and email notification capability for both fire or CO and fault events, as well as installation reports and replacement and fault reports. The SmartLink Gateway and Cloud Portal service is your total solution for alarm maintenance and asset management. The smarter way to check your tenant safety at any time. SmartLink, a revolution in tenant safety.
Next, we're going to hear from our Regional Specification Managers, Tony Boyle and Gregor Morrison, who are based in Scotland. They're going to tell us a bit about their roles, what they get up to, and what Chewin the Facts actually means.
So what the show will be aiming to do is give a varied insight every month into events from up and down the country, from the tolerable standard upgrades to site visits with contractors and interviews with social landlords, as well as the utilisation of new technologies. But first, we thought it would be a great chance to actually just introduce ourselves and give you an insight to our background and some of the experiences we have counted as a Regional Specification Manager working in Scotland. So many will probably be looking at this, the title of the show, and kind of relating it back to a famous Scottish TV programme that's kind of airs every Hogmanay as well, and we just thought that was a good kind of way to kind of connect obviously with the Scottish people. So we felt it was great just to kind of introduce yourselves, give you a kind of background and kind of what we've been up to over the past kind of 12 to 18 months. Tony, what's your background obviously before you joined Aico?
So I've worked for Aico for around 2.5 years, coming on to 3 years. So primarily since leaving school I've worked in the electrical industry. So I served my apprenticeship as an electrician, albeit mostly in a kind of industrial setting, with kind of sort of commercial and domestic experiences and amongst that. So served my time as an electrician, subsequently regraded to an approved electrician after a couple of years, and completed my HNC in electrical engineering at night school. After that I went into manufacturing, just couldn't really handle it in the tools much longer. So I worked in manufacturing for a short period of time for another company before moving to Aico. So and that's where we're at today. So Gregor, what about yourself? Kind of what's your history in terms of where you've worked before and what you've been up to?
I graduated from university in 2015. I had a BSc Honours degree in Environmental Management. I then stumbled, for whatever reason it was, into sales in the electrical industry, initially through distribution, before making my way into manufacturing, kind of specialising in low voltage at the time, and joined Aico in 2019. And ever since then, it's been absolutely fantastic. Obviously covering the Scotland West and the Highlands and Islands region as well, and you know, it's been fantastic. You know, there's been a lot obviously happened over the last kind of 12 to 18 months. And what would you say how would you say your area is in terms of the Scotland Central region?
Well, you're talking about Glasgow, kind of North Lanarkshire, South Lanarkshire, really G and ML postcodes. So it really is kind of mostly a kind of urban in terms of housing stock. So there's very little kind of rural So obviously that comes with its own challenges, and obviously like yourself, you're covering where you're going right up the west coast, up to the
West
Highlands.
Coast, up to the Highlands and Islands. So I from Dumfries and Galway, for the west coast up to the Ayrshires, to Renfrewshire, to Argyll, and then obviously the Highlands and Islands. So a bit different to yourself,
absolutely.
working in the urban areas. And
Aye.
I think obviously the most densely populated I've probably got is in Renfrewshire. But again, having the challenge, as you say, you come from an urban side of things, but me looking at the
rural kind of
rural
things.
aspect, you know, you're looking at the Highlands as the size of Belgium, you know, nearly the size of Belgium, and obviously that housing stock spread across a large area, so it's a bit different, you know.
So we must say we've also got a couple of other kind of colleagues that work with us up in Scotland as well. So we've got Dave Richmond, who covers the east of the country, so really Edinburgh and Midlothian down at the borders and stuff. And we've also got Chris Wallace, who's right up to from Fife up to kind of the Aberdeen sort of area, so the northeast of the country. So didn't want to be leaving our esteemed colleagues out.
No, I can't leave the team out. So there's four of us. We work really closely together as well. And again, that's so important. Different backgrounds, different experiences as well. Chris used to work for a contractor, and Dave was in the fire industry.
He was indeed,
more on the commercial side, wasn't he? So again, we're very fortunate to have a very close-knit team working closely together every day, really. Which has been fantastic. How would you say the last 12 months has been a bit of a roller coaster for everyone?
It's been a bit of a whirlwind for everybody.
When I joined in 2019, obviously the guys have been working already in the tolerable standard upgrades. So from obviously February 2019, since that came in, how did you find that was when that first came about?
Oh, when it first came out, it was absolute chaos. You know, and obviously a big part of working at Aico is education. So, I mean, it's a lot of what we're doing is, I'd probably say maybe 50-60% of our working time is spent educating every part of the supply chain. So, I mean, in terms of the tolerable standard, there was obviously maybe a bit of a panic, a lot of questions asked by clients, contractors, various parts of the supply chain. So education's been a big part of what we've been focusing on for the last while. So again, that comes with its own challenges, especially with COVID and the pandemic and stuff. So
I think for everyone, you know, if you ask me about a Zoom call or ask me to work in Microsoft Teams, to be honest, we had never done it before. But you know, having been able to adapt to that and still being able to offer that support through the full supply chain as well has been so pivotal. So offering online training has been exceptional. People are still getting that level of support, which is so key. I think we're doing training every single week just now. I mean, it's incredible. It's mad. It's absolutely mad. And that, even from the distributor side of things, you know, distributors are receiving training to obviously so they can speak to their customer base. And then obviously we're speaking to our own contractors and our own RSLs and being able to feed that information in and again offer that support constantly. The phones have never been busier. And again, I think it's more becoming the norm, but I think the more we can get back out there and the quicker we can get back out there will be so much better.
You can't beat that interaction face to face.
And you know, you actually miss going out and doing presentations in front of a room full of people. And just having that face to face interaction, you know, building the relationships.
Yeah, definitely. I think really the catalyst of this Aico TV, which is going to be absolutely excellent, is really down to COVID. It's not being able to take the mobile units out to see customers and do our training and presentations. So you see, this is our first time in it, and it's exceptional, absolutely exceptional. Brilliant.
To be here and be able to share content with everybody, it's just been absolutely great.
I think just being able to take our stories and kind of our experiences from what we see out in the field every day, and be able to come back here and then kind of introduce things and really show our customers and really anybody that wants to watch it what we actually get up to, and hopefully people can take a lot from that, from seeing that.
Definitely, and hopefully we can get as many clients, as many contractors, and even as many distributors down to Aico TV, and we can even film a part of the show, and get much interaction. I think we want to just give you as much of an insight to what goes on in Scotland, in terms of, you know, the tolerable standard upgrades. You know, how it is working closely with social landlords. You know, in Scotland we work alongside every local authority. And 96% of housing associations.
Roughly about that.
So it's pretty much, you know, close to everybody. So giving you that insight and
see what it's like. Is at the end of the day of a kind of RSM as well.
Yeah, I think some of the big certainly some of the episodes that we're going to put together are going to be focusing on things that are really key to us in Scotland. Not just the tolerable standard, but we're also talking about the introduction of sprinklers coming through in the amendments to the building regulations this March, I believe. So we're going to be exploring that because that's a very topical issue that people want to learn more about. And we've also got stuff coming through, very exciting things like the gateway and how we're moving in that market.
The new environmental sensors as well. So obviously we've got East 2 compliance, which is coming up in Scotland in 2025. So the whole, we always focus as a company on life safety and the safety of a tenant's life, and now we're looking at the quality of a tenant's life as well. So
health and well-being.
Which is exceptional. So there's a lot of exciting things coming up. We look forward to sharing content with you. So already we've been capturing some footage for our first episode. Tony, would you like to introduce?
Yeah. So a couple of weeks ago we were out on site. So this particular client is Clydebank Housing Association. So what we were doing is we were visiting some of the tower blocks up in Clydebank around the Radnor Park area. We caught up with the contractor on site. We had a wee look at the job itself, and we've got a wee interview with the contractor on site as well. So these tower blocks, essentially what's happened is they've had a fire risk assessment carried out on their communal areas. So this might be applicable for any social landlords that are tuning in to watch this episode who do have tower blocks within their housing stock. So the fire risk assessment had asked that there was some sort of detection installed within the communal areas. So they've actually allowed for grade D alarms to be fitted in a couple of those particular areas. And one of the higher risk areas that was identified was the kitchen sort of area, the laundry area in that communal setting. So they've allowed for grade D, which is unusual. Normally we'd see a grade A or some sort of fire panel system fitted in a communal area. But I think they've really took the opinion that something is definitely better than nothing. So, and this particular client actually utilises the gateways, so for remote management of their fire detection system off-site. So they're able to monitor any kind of notifications or alerts or maybe alarm head removals from their offices or wherever really. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut to this first episode. We're going to have a wee look at the job, have a wee look at the site, and we will also have a wee chat with the contractor as well. Thank you. Just had that wee interview there with Costa, so just back on site again, just kind of looking at the completed installation. So we've got the EI3024 multi-sensor alarms that have been installed in the laundry areas that have been identified as high risk by the fire risk assessment. So I'm just going to show you a quick sort of video of the installation that we've got here. There we go, we've got that kind of washing machine area there, hallway, a couple of other rooms coming off the hall, but we've got the multi-sensor alarms in here as well. So as Costa said, this particular client has opted to, well, they're installing the EI1000G gateways in their actual properties anyway. So they've decided to utilise this technology in this sort of communal washing area, just for remote management of the detectors really. So can you tell us, Costa, just about this project that we're on this morning? Give us a wee bit of background on
no problem. Radnor Park with Radnor now is managed by Clydebank Housing Association, one of the contracts that I manage for a domestic gas maintenance service installation. Yep. And previously with Radnor Park, we had upgraded the internals of the flats to LD2 status. Yep. So we know obviously the flats here, we know the blocks, all 7 of them, and we were asked by Clydebank to update the communal areas as per the fire risk assessment that was carried out. So obviously with your support, City Tech, we surveyed this, a lot of work was put into it before obviously we started the project, and touch wood, it's been going okay. Yep. One more week to go, and that's all the 7 blocks upgraded to LD2 standard, along with the gateways to allow Clydebank access to remotely view their smoke alarms, their assets, to make sure the tenants are safe.
Yeah. Of course, as we said kind of earlier on in the conversation, we know that you are doing a lot of work in Scotland, all over Scotland and down south as well, and certainly fitting smoke alarms in massive quantities for various social landlords. So what do you think about the introduction, what's your opinion on it, the introduction of the new tolerable standard here in Scotland? So the implementation of the legislation by the Scottish Government, basically saying that every property in Scotland has to be up to a kind of category LD2 standard. So what's your thoughts on that, Costa?
Totally agree. Obviously with the recent event in Grenfell, which is obviously very unfortunate and shouldn't happen again. This is needed for all social and obviously for private households. Yeah. So the more I've got involved with Aico and obviously the kind of regulations surrounding fire and your house and how to protect it.
So Costa, how have you found working with Aico? I know you've been working with them quite closely, myself in particular, over the last kind of couple of years. How have you found the experience to be for yourself as a contractor? Yeah,
very good. I found Aico to be quite supportive with the projects that I've got regarding LD2 installation, the technical department as well. Any issues that we've had have been resolved quite quickly. I found yourself and Gregor very supportive as well, plus on-site support with the guys, with the electricians, because you come across problems all the time. So yeah.
The training's been a big thing for you guys as well?
Training's been good, it's been fundamental, to be honest, Tony. Really good. Not just for the guys carrying out the job, but for us as managers to understand how these devices are fitted and any issues that are encountered. So yeah, the training's been really, really good and the guys have benefited from it. So,
So thank you very much, Costa, for joining us here this morning. It's good to have a chat with you on site. And once again, it's been an absolute pleasure to work with you guys.
No, likewise, Tony, and as I said, hopefully to continue our working relationship going forward.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you, Costa.
Cheers.
So it was great to catch up on site with City Technical Services as they're working away in these communal areas at the tower blocks up at Radnor Park. So thank you very much to Costa Aeropolis and City Technical Services for their time on site. And also thank you very much to Clydebank Housing Association. It's great to see a social landlord like Clydebank Housing Association take such a proactive approach in terms of fire safety, really. So thank you very much. And again, it's absolutely fantastic to actually catch up on site and see these things in kind of real life, so to speak. So those experiences are really invaluable. So I'm just going to pass over to Gregor, and Gregor's going to tell us a little bit about next week's episode.
Thank you very much, Tony. That was absolutely fantastic and great to see a social landlord taking a very proactive approach as well. Next week we will be interviewing James Frew, a large gas contractor in the west coast of Scotland, finding out what they've been up to in terms of working alongside the tolerable standard. Thank you very much. Take care.
So you want to join Aico's installer community? To become a member of the community, you must have completed the Expert Installer core module since the 1st of May 2019. Don't worry, if you need to complete or refresh your training, simply sign up to our Expert Installer program online. Our Regional Specification Managers run training sessions across the country in specialised mobile units. Once you have signed up, a member of the Aico team will be in touch to advise you on training courses and dates in your area. Attend your training day, and once completed, we will provide you with access to the community and your chance to win great prizes. If you have completed the Expert Installer core module since the 1st of May 2019, all you need to do is email us at installer.community@aico.co.uk to receive your unique join code. There is a reward for the first 1,000 expert installers to join, and there is a chance to win an all-expenses-paid trip to watch the British Superbikes in Assen, Holland. Get connected and find out more at aico.co.uk/community.
Welcome back to Aico TV. Hopefully you enjoyed that short clip advertising the Aico installer community online. If you are an electrician or an installer that hasn't completed Expert Installer and wants to be involved in the community, please sign up via the website www.aico.co.uk. We got there in the end. Next up, we have our National Technical Manager, Andy Speak, interviewing Will Lloyd, Technical Manager from the FIA. They're going to take a real look into the insights of the FIA and how they support the industry. Most recently, our expert installer training has been accredited by the FIA. I'm sure this will come up in the interview. Hope you enjoy it.
Hello and welcome, and today I'm joined with Will Lloyd from the FIA, and we're going to be talking about the FIA. That's the main topic of the discussion, so, so welcome, Will.
Well, thank you, and thanks for having me. Just in case people don't know who I am, how dare you not know who I am? My name's Will Lloyd. I'm one of the technical managers for the Fire Industry Association, the FIA, not the Formula One people, unfortunately. And we're a trade association, and I'm proud to say that Aico are members. Yeah, we are indeed, try to be active in that as well. So the idea is really, there's a lot of our customers will be aware of the FIA, but maybe not necessarily aware of exactly what it is you do. Some people may not necessarily be aware of the FIA at all. So really, the idea is just to talk about what you do in a little bit more detail. So I know you're a technical manager, so that kind of gives a little bit of a hint into your role. But, that does give a little bit of a hint. And I'm one of 3 technical managers. Yeah. We're a bit like royalty. We're not allowed all to be in the same place at the same time. Yeah. We cover slightly different areas. My colleague Rob I describe as doing everything wet. So he covers everything from extinguishers. My colleague Neil does FD&A and a lot of the products. I do a lot of install and risk assessment and fire engineering. Right. The FIA is, like I say, it's a trade association, and it's a bit odd to some degree trying to explain how we're set up, because we're actually run by the members for the members. And it's done via what we call councils. So we have, how many councils have we got? That's a very good question. We have Fire Engineering Council, Fire Risk Assessment Council, which are my 2 councils. We have FD&A Council, which has an awful lot of working groups underneath them. We have the Extinguishing Council, we have the Servicing Council. We also have an Export Council for people who want to export to either Europe or the world. And we have FIRESA, which is people who make things for the fire and rescue services. And these can range from fire engines to gloves. Right, everything, basically everything. We cover more or less all of the fire industry, which is why we are the Fire Industry Association. Yeah, that's a lot between three technical managers, really, isn't it? Yeah, and generally, we are one of the services we offer is we run a technical helpline. People can ring us up, and it's not just members. We will speak to anyone: housing associations, local governments, hospital trusts, anybody who wants to ask a question about fire. One of us will know the answer. And does the number literally come through to, is potluck, it'll either be yourself, Neil, or Rob? Or, if you ring the main office line, hit option 3, and whichever one of us gets to it first. I should say Neil was originally meant to be here today. He's got a pretty good excuse. We will let him off for why he's backed out. No, let's not let him off. He's tested positive for COVID just over a week ago. So he's, bless him. He's got a good enough excuse. We'll let him off for that. It's a lot of work between 3 technical managers. I know. In each of the working groups, in each of the councils, you've got separate working groups where a lot of the activity go on with them, don't they? Yeah, and bear in mind that the councils are made up of members, the working groups are made up of members, and maybe a co-opted member, and you don't get paid. Yeah. I get paid, luckily. But it's all done on a volunteer basis. It's done for the industry, by the industry. Yeah. I always like to say that the FIA is the help organisation. You know, we're here to help. We're heavily involved in standards. I'm on the panel for 5839 Part 1, 5839 Part 6, basic revision. I also on a couple of mirror committees for some European work, one of which is 50170. I even remembered the number. Go on, which one's that? That is the provision of remote services. Okay, well, If you are familiar with 16763,
yeah,
which is the services standard,
yeah,
this is trying to do it remotely.
definitely come back to that one. Yeah, a lot more questions about that in a bit.
So we do an awful lot of standards work. We're there to represent the industry, represent our members, and we're here to solve problems. It's a very interesting place to work. I really do enjoy my job.
Yeah, well, the other thing that the FIA is possibly best known for is a training, isn't it? You as a training provider.
Yes.
So, how does that all work for those who aren't aware?
We have, how long ago? 2017, I think it was officially launched.
Right.
The awarding organisation. We have traditionally done loads of training. Our name has been for the training, but there was never any regulated qualifications. You know, if you look in the electrical industry, there are qualifications. You know, and every time there's a new edition of the wiring regulations, they all trot out and they all do a 3-day course on how to read a book.
Yep.
And do the course. Do the course. There was never anything like that. Fire alarms, there was never any, if you wanted just to say, well, I want to learn about fire alarms, and start off with, there was nothing. So we wanted an awarding organisation, we really wanted proper qualifications. We shopped around to various awarding organisations. None of them were interested because they saw us as being too small.
Yeah.
And to some degree, we are a small subset of the electrical technical world. We're in the electrical technical industry. We're small. We get lumped in with security as well.
I'm aware,
it is fire and security. You know, we work closely with the BSIA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Dave Wilkinson quite well. Worked with him years and do stuff with Steve Lampett.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cooperation, coordination with those two organisations. But there was no qualifications, and we felt there was. And this is all pre-Grenfell. Everyone thinks we jumped on the Grenfell thing, and we didn't. We're doing it. We talk about this, and we're doing this way before Grenfell ever happened.
Yeah.
So we launched an awarding organisation. We launched 4 qualifications: installation, commissioning, maintenance, and design.
Yes. Yeah.
And we've been adding and adding. And unfortunately, I've written most of those qualifications.
I've seen all the questions in there on the Part 6 one. Yeah.
I'm not allowed. I've never seen all the questions because I'm totally separate. I write all the training.
Conflict of interest. I get it. Yeah.
I write all the training packages. I have nothing to do with the questions. So if you take one of the exams, it's not to do with me. If you fail,
just the content.
It's the questions.
You agree for,
I do all the content.
Okay.
So that's all my fault. So I've written all the new training packages. We've released new courses. We've released the fundamentals, which is very much an 18th edition-y 5839 Part 1.
Yeah.
And then on the back of that, we actually did a Part 6 course.
Yeah.
And people say, well, the Part 6 course is only a 1 day. It is a 1 day training course. It is a level 3 qualification. But you have to have done the fundamentals of Part 1, which is 4 days.
Makes sense.
Before you can move on to do Part 6, because you have to build on that knowledge. Because
you're not going to know what a grade A is unless you know what a Part 1 system is.
Yeah, and you know, it's people think, oh, well, why do you have to do that? Because you have to know what grade A is.
It's interesting. We get it from the opposite side. We're well in the world of Part 6. That's our world, our bubble. There is others, but equally we'll speak to people all the time who will not know what a grade A system is. So we have to approach a similar situation, and it's a shame that our customers won't have done the fundamentals and are coming to Part 6 as the first time they've ever seen fire detection alarm systems. So yeah, it's interesting. It's a nicer way of doing it, having that commercial background before moving to domestic, but I know not everybody would probably do that, would they?
No, but it's difficult because you have to explain certain concepts which are sort of a given in Part 6 because they're just taking part. One of these days I'm actually going to do this, and I've been saying this for about 20 years, so I probably won't. I'm going to print out Part 1. Right. I'm going to print out Part 6. I'm going to get my scissors and my glue and cut the relevant bits out and glue them over the relevant bits of Part 1, because then that will be a grade A standard.
It would. There's only 4. I'm going to test my own knowledge now. There's 4 elements where a grade A and a Part 1 differ.
4 or 5, yeah.
Back up.
Yep.
Manual call points?
Yep.
Audibility, sound output?
Yep.
Sound pressure level?
Yep.
Fourth one?
Come on, come on.
Being, I mentioned battery backup.
Will you know it?
I do know it, but I'm going to give up. Go on. I'm
Radio.
On camera. Radio. RF, of course.
Yes,
Yeah,
RF.
absolutely. RF. Okay, well, it's all right. Under pressure, on camera, so it's fine. Won't go along with that. But so, yeah, you do all that as well. And I know something else you're now doing, we were just talking about this before we went live, but CPD.
Yep.
So I'll let you explain that as well.
We've always, especially for the risk assessment section, trying to keep up, and CPD, we acknowledge that CPD is important to our members and people who are employed by our members. So we've done an awful lot online. Everybody's moved online because of the pandemic. We've done an awful lot online. And one of the interesting things that we did was, because we started doing a lot of stuff online, the question was asked, why don't we get this certified? So we looked into it and we thought, oh, well, you know, it's probably an Ofqual approved organisation. That, you know, there must be Ofqual approved organisations who can certify CPD, and it's not. It's just a logo and money. And it was, well, why should we pay someone for a logo and money to certify CPD? Surely we know all.
You need some expertise. You want to be sending to somebody who knows
what are they going to do that we don't know?
Yeah, correct it. Give your input. Give your direction. That's what you're paying for. Really, that's what you expect when you
know, the SIBSI, the purple tick people, and it was decided, well, we'll just do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And then it was, well, if we're doing this ourselves, why don't we do it for our members and make it a member benefit? So we don't charge for it.
Fantastic.
So we now have a CPD centre, so members can send in their CPDs, which they are doing in droves, thankfully.
Yeah, we're also to blame for that as
yes,
well.
You are to blame. But
massively to blame, so apologies for that.
That's all right, we don't mind. And that gets reviewed by the technical department, and we pick holes in it.
Which would be yourself.
Which is myself, Neil and Rob.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I thought that was the case. But in fairness, we fared pretty well. You know,
yeah.
I think you always manage to find something.
We try.
Which is good, and you know, it's a part of the test, that is. But yeah, it's great. It's really, really good service. I can't fault the service. It's been fantastic.
Yeah.
We used to use a different CPD provider, and it was related. It was construction, a building. I won't actually mention the provider. But again, it was the feedback we'd get would only ever be regarding the presentation itself. Over maybe you could give more of an introduction to yourselves at this point, or maybe you need more of a summary at the back. So not actually about the content, which is if we wanted any, we know how we want the presentation to look and feel.
Yes.
We can introduce and summarise quite happily ourselves. Where we'd want input is if I've made a mistake, and that's where you are pretty good. I should point out, if I ever writing anything official or anything like that, and I want it to be scrutinised, that there's a certain manner I will absolutely send it to, and guaranteed you will correct it. So fair dues and many thanks for doing that ongoing.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly people who start to work for the FIA start knowing that I will shout at them if they do not put a space between BS and the number.
Yep. Yep.
Because it's British standard, then there's the number.
I have the same. We shouldn't really go down this route because we could be talking a while. But when the colons and the hyphen are missed, you know, and you'll get a colon to part 6, and then hyphen 2019. It just grates me. But yeah, we shouldn't get into that.
No, we shouldn't do that.
We should focus back on the FIA.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's loads of activities going on in the FIA. I know there's a special interest group. Is that mistaken, right? Saying that?
Yeah, we're run by councils. Yeah. And then if there is something that needs a response, an input, generally either a standard government consultation. I get lots of government consultations, and now because they're changing all the legislation and risk assessment and fire engineering, I'm running a lot of government consultation. We call them special interest groups. It's for a single piece of work.
Yeah.
We get everyone of the membership, not just the councils, anyone with the wider membership who wants an input, because it's their association as well, to input and give their views, and we respond back to government.
Which is brilliant. I know we've had a few recently. We had the government consultation on extending the private rented landlord
Yes.
To social landlords and dropping gas dropping the word solid, I should say, from the CO requirements.
Yeah.
Prior to that, we had, some of the SIGs have covered feedback and standards, haven't we? We had 9251.
Yep.
Sprinkler domestic standard, we had a SIG on that, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
We were both on the Part 6 committee, but there was a SIG for Part 6 as well.
Yeah, yep.
Recently one for Part 1, I didn't attend that. But
That's Part 1, they're starting to look at reviewing it, so I'm pulling comments already for that. We write a lot of guidance as well. If you ever go on the FIA website, it's fia.uk.com. You'll find there's an awful lot of information on our website. We do lots of guidance documents. Government quite often come to us and say, can you write a guidance document for the industry? Or can you get the industry, rather, to write a guidance document? I'm working on one for premises information boxes for high-rise buildings. And we've got
with 8629.
it ties in with 8629.
Yeah,
because the government are happy for us to write it, because they know if they want to make it a standard, we will just say, right, fair enough, here it is, take it, we're not precious, make it a standard, fine. We're government have always said, and out of past 79, I've got 2 more guidance documents I need to write. So much.
So basically, the special interest groups I think are fantastic. I've been involved in a few of them. We've got ongoing ones looking into sound pressure level. Well, it wasn't just looking at sound pressure level, it was looking at sound frequency. It came out of the fact that there's all this ongoing research, isn't there, about, limited, and some research has recently made public about children and their alertness to waking from alarm sounders. And does the sound pressure level make too much of an impact, or is it the sound frequency? So that's been an interesting SIG. It's ongoing at the moment.
Well, we're even working with LFB, London Fire Brigade,
they've got
to
investigations, haven't they?
in their investigation team, because we work closely with fire and rescue services. We'll gladly talk to fire and rescue services. We'll gladly talk to anyone to try and make sure. Our ultimate aim is fire safety. We want everyone to be safe. So we're not precious. We let everyone have our information. Nearly everything we produce is free on our website. We're here for the industry, and we're here to try and make people safe. Like I keep saying, we're the help organisation. We do research. Some of our profits are funneled back into research for various things. We did false alarm. We followed Scotland Fire and Rescue. We do a lot with Scotland because Scotland are easy to work with because
doesn't surprise me.
It's one brigade.
And they're very forward thinking as well.
And the advantage of Scotland is you can get nearly every type area. You've got a city, you've got a metropolitan area, you've got large towns, you've got small towns, and you've got rural. All under one brigade. Which is...
And they're pretty good at reporting their figures as well, which is also handy.
So we work a lot with Scottish Fire and Rescue, just to follow them around, find out what produces false alarms. And that led to the flaps on call points. Not allowed to call them flaps, they have to be called covers.
Covers.
Have to use covers. The reason why I can't call them flaps is because that implies that they're hinged, and I'm not allowed to say hinged because someone could make one that slides.
Right.
Yes, that's an argument we had in a standards committee.
Well, that's obviously very part one-y. I remember when that conversation was ongoing, we followed suit because we do call points in part 6. Not as well known, but we obviously adapted the flaps. I will not call it flaps ever again.
Covers.
The covers. We adopted the covers as well on ours. So, interesting though. It is. I didn't know that, so it doesn't surprise me though.
It's, even within part 6, you think, well, how do you actually comply with various elements? And the isolation element was a big one many years ago about how you isolate a smoke alarm. And should you isolate a smoke alarm? Now, you need to isolate a smoke alarm for electrical safety. Right? Now, I'm a huge fan of wiring them off lighting circuits.
Yeah, we're the same. That's our preference as well.
Yeah, that's my preference.
Yeah.
Right? And the argument was, well, you should have an isolator next to the smoke alarm. And it's like, well, that's just going to be ridiculous. It's going to look horrible. And it's like, well, if you actually look at how a mains-powered smoke alarm has actually been designed, actually been built, it's actually been thought of. And if you remove it from the base, if it's got a removable base, it's isolated.
Absolutely, yeah, safely as well. So yeah, I know it's all very thought of.
Yeah, but these are silly things that come up in standards committees.
I know. Yeah, we've evolved our EasyFit base to be very safe as well. So initially, some of the screw slots for the contacts. Yeah. Very small, you couldn't get your finger into them, but they're totally covered now. The cap has been extended, so that's even covered. So yeah, we've adapted things like that as well, just as standards have. We've changed certain connections on certain base plates as well. Again, looking at standards now, standards have progressed, and we've just had to adopt that really. So it's,
I mean,
they work closely hand in hand, don't they?
Yeah, you've got to remember that the fire industry is very much standards driven. Because of construction products regulation and because it's a life safety system.
Well, we're both standards people. We both sit on many of the same committees, and we both can list off numbers, which could be admirable or depends on your perspective on that. I think it's quite good. It's good knowledge to have.
Whether it's a domestic fire alarm, whether it's a commercial fire alarm, you only really want it to work once. Yeah. But when you want it to work, you really need it to work.
Say the exact same thing. It is. It's absolutely the same. Yeah,
it's
not vital.
It's not just something that sits there and does nothing all day. It's
quality is the utmost thing. Hopefully, it will never have to do anything.
Yeah.
But it's got to in that scenario that it should respond. Just steering the conversation back to FIA. One thing which is new, I think, this year is it, and I'm hoping you can tell me more about this. Is it affiliate membership or? Is that something which we're seeing now? Or?
Affiliate membership's been around for a while, but it was never really pushed or used. We do have some international members as well because export and different countries. But there are affiliate. We've done a big push on member benefits, I must admit. With insurance companies, leasing companies. We've got a solicitor to look at people's terms and conditions. Right, okay. So there's a lot more coming via member benefits.
I know purely because my involvement is mainly through FD&A Council and the smoke alarm devices working group. Yeah. And I call it the smoke alarm devices, not the SAD working group. Notice what I did there? Yeah. At a point of calling its correct term, I don't think SAD gives it credit. But yeah, we've now got members from Fire and Rescue, which is brilliant. But equally, we're finding RSLs, social landlords, are getting more and more involved, which didn't see previously with the FIA, which is great. Really.
We're trying to bring in social landlords, and we're trying to bring in fire and rescue services because we want to work with these organisations. You know, we want to have a collective voice. We want to understand what their issues are. It's no use the industry saying you do it this way, and then social landlords go, well, it doesn't work.
Exactly. That's our market. We're obviously not just social, private as well, and there is consumers as well who use our product. But social landlords. So they're massive, big sector of the market. So to get input from 5 million homes throughout the UK is huge, really. To have them directly working with manufacturers, with fire and rescue, sat around the same virtual as it currently stands table, but it's great.
We've even got a couple of local councils as members. Because the requirement for membership is quite simple. It's third-party certification, whether that's for a manufacturer and ISO 9001 procedures, installers SP 203, 205, 207, talking about evacuation alert systems. The portables section, the 101, I think it is. They've changed it recently. I can never remember what it is now.
Yeah, that's not my
it's wet.
expertise either. It's wet. Okay, let's
that's
go with
Rob.
that. It's like with the sprinklers.
It's
wet.
Rob.
Right.
We'll let Rob. We'll let Rob deal with all the portables people.
Yeah.
I quite like portables. I think they are much misaligned because we actually have a survey out at the moment, and I'm really interested to see the results of the survey. And the survey is, have you put a fire out with a portable? Because we're asking the companies this.
Yeah, because guidance is swayed, hasn't it, from
because how many
of
you actually had to replace because they've been used?
Yeah.
Because it's really one of the figures which is really difficult to find is how many fires have been put out by portable fire extinguishers.
Yeah.
Because they don't get reported to the Fire and Rescue Service because the
It's
Fire and
been dealt
Rescue
with.
Service weren't called because we put it out with the portable because that's what it's there for.
Reported.
It's not reported, and it's one of those little tidbits of information which is much hard to find. So we're trying to.
It'd be good to get to that information. It really, really would be good. It's interesting. I know, again, through the FIA marketing and through the FD&A Council, there's been a massive push for sharing positive stories.
Yeah.
I know sprinklers get a lot of media attention when they've been involved, and there's a lot of big push for sprinklers at the moment, but your humble fire detector or smoke alarm or fire alarm, however you want to call it, deals with all these, and most of the time doesn't make it into the media at all. So just media monitoring, sharing some of these good news stories is something that I fully support, because they are a life safety product. They're saving lives every single day, but the lives you save, you don't hear about.
Yeah. I read an article on an electrician's forum because someone's house burnt down and they think it was a fake battery bought from eBay, charging things overnight. And I read the BBC News story, and they all got out because the smoke alarm went off.
Yeah.
And my thought was, oh great, the smoke alarm worked.
When?
They all got out. I wasn't that interested in the actual electrical fault, which might have a fake battery, because the smoke alarm worked. So in my world, smoke alarm worked. Test your smoke alarms.
Yes.
They rather say, like, that saves someone's life. And, okay, their house has been destroyed. I feel for them. They've lost memories.
Replace a house.
You can replace things. You can build new memories.
Yeah.
But family of four are alive because of smoke alarms.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important. Part 6 recommends grade D1 for rented accommodation, specifically for you've got that battery backup is sealed for the life of the alarm. It's tamper-proof, so whoever that tenant, that resident at that time, they could be vulnerable, they may not be, they may be fully able-bodied, fully switched on. There could be whoever diverse of the tenancy, they haven't got to worry about it. Yeah. Even if that circuit is off, it's on its own separate circuit, it's powered off, you've got a battery backup, which will keep you going. Following part 6 really is to what you should stick in is the best thing on that. And hopefully all smoke alarms should be on the UK market, CPR, should be third-party certified, so that there shouldn't be any issues. I know certainly from our side, our quality is important.
You need to buy a quality product. It's life safety. You need to have a quality product, and that's what FIA is all about. Promoting quality, promoting third-party certification. You buy a quality product. Has it been quality installed? So
that makes sense.
It's completing everything. Have they been trained? Are they competent? Have they done a training course? Have they got qualifications?
It ties into itself, doesn't it? It all kind of merges into one another, and it makes sense, supports itself.
Yeah, for us, the FIA, there are not that many employees. We're a small organisation, but we do an awful lot. We've got a very good name. We work an awful lot with government, local housing, fire and rescue, because we want to have a collaborative approach. We want to help as much and as many people as we can.
And again, I can vouch for that. Very, very active industry association to be part of and to be involved in. That there's loads going on, which is why I'm learning just as much today as well. And I like to think I'm quite active and involved in the FIA, but
Yeah.
there's lots that you're doing that I wouldn't even know about.
Even the networking.
Yeah.
We generally have an AGM and a lunch every year in November. Hopefully this November it will go up. I think it's going to go ahead from what we're saying.
Hopefully, yeah. Boris is right.
And the amount of people who come to that is incredible. The amount of networking opportunities to meet other people within the industry is great.
Yeah.
And you pick up some really useful contacts, connections, just from being in the FIA, and it's like, oh, I know someone who can help you with that. It's
true. It's true. Normally, if I have a standards question, it'd be yourself I go to. If it's a question regarding something else, you do. You'll have worked with somebody, you'll know somebody who will be able to answer that. And equally, that works both ways as well. Yeah. And it's great to be involved in. So I'll certainly.
I'm glad Aico are involved.
Yeah. So being in the FIA, obviously you're seeing a lot of trends at the moment, and there's a massive trend to use as, again, a conversation we had before we went live. IoT, there's these buzzwords, connected home, there's a lot going on at the moment. And are you seeing that across the whole industry?
It's starting to happen.
Right.
You have to understand that the fire industry as a whole is very slow to change. Yeah. Right? And it doesn't grab new technology quickly. Right? And there's a very simple reason, is we're very cautious because it's life safety.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
It has to work. So if it's cutting edge technology, we go, ooh, maybe we don't like that. For example, video fire detection is now more or less accepted.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? I know that video fire detection has been around for over 20 years.
It has a good long time, and it offers a lot of benefits as well.
And it's only getting better. I used to muck around a lot with video analytics systems, and that's effectively what it is. With megapixel cameras, things just got better.
Yeah.
So I know that the algorithms, the cameras are getting better.
Other than applications such as waste recycling plants and places like that, they're not massively being used on the video system. I know because there's a big application for building frontage, isn't there?
Yeah.
You can get an entire aspect of a building via video.
Seeing them getting put into warehouses more and more.
Right.
So when we start talking about new emerging technologies, we want it to work, and we need to say, this does work. IoT is slightly different because it's more of an add-on, it's more of an expansion to an existing product. It's the connected bit. Yeah. And connected things are all the rage now, which is one of the reasons why we're writing the service standard for remote testing.
So tell me more about that, because I don't really know as much on that, and you've been quite heavily involved.
Yeah, so if you want to remotely service or remotely connect to a fire alarm panel, everybody has broadband.
Yeah.
Most of the transmission systems are now IP, so there is a transmission path there already. And because PCSN is being turned off in 2025, so
digital switchover.
Digital switchover, we will be data with voice on top rather than voice with data on top. So there's a data connection there at your CIE. There is a transmission unit which is connected to your broadband, which means you have a transmission path, and you have a transmission path all the way. So why can you not interrogate, alter, change? No. Why not? We can, but there's no real checks. So this standard covers security as well. So it's fire security and emergency systems. So it's tied closely with the 50136 series, so there's a new 50136 Part 10.
Right,
okay. And the easiest way to explain it is Part 10 is the connection. That's the tunnel you send information.
Yeah.
And 51070 is what you can do. So there's a standard for how you connect a remote site to a secure site and the secureness of it. Make sure encryption, authentication, Because remember, you're going through various things. You might have a centre monitoring station, which is monitoring the platform that you're on. So I think they're called marks.
Right.
And then you've got the alarm receiving centre.
Did you say this was a European or international standard?
Yes, it's European. It's EN 50170.
Right, okay. And does the European on that side pretty much tie in with what we're doing here in the UK anyway?
Not so much. One of the interesting things about European standards, which will still be involved in even post-Brexit, is there will never be a standard way of installing a fire alarm. For the simple reason is that no one can really agree. Because the Germans...
I'll agree to that.
There are three main players in European standards work, which is German, French and us.
Yeah.
And the Germans say, yes, there should be a common way of doing it, and it's the German method. The French say it should be a common method, and it's the French method. And we say, you should just use 5839, it's easy. I'm privy to that. You only need to, those of you aware of 14604, ongoing smoke alarm, domestic smoke alarm standard, which I think is that normally a standard revision is about 2 years, and you can request, the actual time, the duration for writing the standard is about 2 years, and you can extend a 6-month extension. I think 14604 has been under revision way before I was even involved in the industry. It's just ongoing, and it's still making slow progress. It's making progress. It's great to see that, but it's slow progress. Yes, standards organisation, CENELEC is very difficult, and they're having issues with what they feel you can have in a standard, because we want a standard to say yes, you pass or fail, and they're worried about being sued.
Yeah, well, how the standards are being written is changing. We're now looking at open descriptions, which was, I've only been involved in one standard so far, which was written in open descriptions, and that was 5446 Part 4, the new domestic multi-sensor. But that was a bit of a head scratcher, getting your head around zeros and ones. A standard to me should say, well, it needs to meet this criteria. If it doesn't meet this criteria, it doesn't pass the standards. Where all of a sudden, now we've got standards where it can meet this criteria, but it doesn't have to meet this one, because you've got your declaration of conformance at the end or the beginning. And it's a totally different way of looking at a standard. It really was a bit of a head scratcher for me. And even that's not been fully adopted as a way ahead. I know it's been used for 2-3 standards so far, but whether that's the way ahead.
I mean, EN 54.2 has options with requirements.
Yeah.
So you can have a EN 54.2 compliant and tested passed panel, and another one, and they'll do two different things.
It
because
is
options
strange,
with requirements.
I think EN 54.29. That was open descriptions as well. It is very, very peculiar. But then again, another change to standards that I'm seeing at the moment is, or a potential change to standards, is machine readable. Smart standards, so that the actual standard can be read by a machine. Now, I haven't seen that at all reach the fire industry yet.
I haven't, no. But
I'm seeing it across all other industries, and it's probably only a matter of time till it reaches our products as well. But
technology always moves on.
Yeah, well, this kind of ties in with the IoT question. It's an area we're very much behind. One of the biggest inquiries we get about our customers, certainly when we're talking about technology, talking about IoT, connected home, and this goes back to the standard you were talking about, the remote, is, does that mean that I can remotely test my smoke alarms? Does that mean I no longer need to do that? And it's like, well, it's not quite as clear cut as that. There's a lot more elements to it.
But the ability to do that, whether it's just for a home user, or if you think of a social landlord, a social landlord, can they actually confirm that the smoke alarm is A, still there, and B,
got power, working, if it was tested, when was it last tested?
All this information
is available now.
Is there. We're not having to send someone knock on the door, sorry, they're not in, or we'll have to come back, which is expensive.
It's huge.
It's
huge.
This connectedness, Internet of Things, external monitoring, external information, external data, it is just pure data, is going to become more and more valuable, more and more useful, and just for compliance, because social landlords are being responsible, they have to have smoke alarms.
Yeah.
They should have smoke alarms, and they're trying to prove that it's there. And it's nice that things are progressing down this route to see that.
It is. It's really interesting. And yeah, granted, there's still an argument of visual inspection. Absolutely,
Yeah.
is there a carrier bag covering it? But it's interesting. You may not be aware, in our German market, slightly different market. They don't use mains. They're mainly focused on battery, grade F1.
Yep.
I think a grade F1. That's the German market they tend to go with. But remote inspection is a big thing for them. So, but equally, being able to find out, has the alarm been covered up? So we actually can find that out now. It's actually, we'll find out, has it been correctly sighted? Has it got 300 mil surrounding it? Has it been covered up or anything like that? Plus you've already got your tampering, and you can tell if it's been removed from the base plate. So then we just need the standards to catch up. So at the moment, in the 2019 revision of Part 6, if you look at Table 3, it says about monthly testing by the occupant, regular testing and sheltered accommodation by a competent person for grade D and grade F. But then if you look at the suffixes at the bottom, it does make reference to if you cannot gain access, but you can remotely access the data from the unit. It's I can't remember the wording, but I'm sure you probably know it better than I do. But there is reference at least to that, and I think that's the way it's going to go. Because we know access is a challenge, always has been. It's not going to change, and during a pandemic is even more of a challenge. So yeah, being able to access that information, just know that the alarm's working. And if it hasn't been tested, ask the tenant to test it. They'll probably rather that than you going around to their property.
Yes. There are commercial sounders on the market now with inbuilt microphones.
Yeah.
So they can say, I still work.
I'm still kicking out the correct sound pressure level that I should be. I'm fine, I'm good.
Yeah.
It's a way it's got to go. It really, really has. Make it automated. You don't want to have to... Initially, in the 2013 revision of Part 6, it said weekly testing of alarms. Let's be honest, that's unrealistic for most consumers. It's been relaxed to monthly testing in the 2019 revision. I think that's more realistic.
Yes.
From experience, I still don't think it's too regularly adhered to.
No.
We say just less important is exactly the frequency, as long as it is being regularly done. Whether that be weeks, months, you're regularly testing it. The occupants know the sound of the smoke alarms, they recognise it. Same with their carbon monoxide alarms for us as well. But the most we can do to support that with technology.
Yeah. If we can make it easier for people via technology, that needs to happen. That should be done. Just to say, your smoke alarm still works. Like I say, you only want it to work once.
Exactly.
But you really want it to work.
Yeah, precisely.
The FIA have an IoT report coming up soon, I believe.
Right.
So we are looking and talking about IoT systems. It is very much a buzzword, but it is the future.
It's the future that we're very much committed to. It's
trying to understand what actually is IoT. Is it IoT or is it TOI? Is it just things on the internet, or is it the Internet of Things? Now, the Internet of Things, in my mind, is the automation of processes.
Yeah.
So
that's a fair description.
Automatically, things happen, rather than just a load of connected devices sat on the internet eating your Wi-Fi.
Yeah, exactly. Or a security risk, and there's a lot of elements to it. It's got to. Well, I know technology is moving so quickly. Standards tend to be revised once every 5 years.
Yeah.
Technology can move on in a lot less than that. Certainly in the IT space, technology is moving so rapidly, and I think this is something where I can see the industry is going to have to adopt quicker. I know we do have PASS, which is as far quicker standard to write, isn't it? There's another one. Is it BSI Flex?
BSI Flex is the new product that BSI...
Apparently they're even quicker to bring to market. I don't know. I think these are possible ways that we might have to adopt to progress, because, talking about IoT, the security, IT standards already exist and they move on pretty rapidly, but the fire, as we've already discussed earlier on, don't necessarily do they? So.
Yeah, I mean, because we get lumped in with intruder systems, you'll look at EN 5421, which is the transmission standard for commercial fire alarms. That references the intruder alarm standard. Why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah.
So that requires quite a high level of time, reduced time. It's 100 seconds for the reporting time for the transmission of the signal.
Yeah.
Intruders can go down to 30 days on various grades and various signal paths, whether it's single or dual path. But for the fire alarm, we're not that really worried about the encryption or the substitution.
Yeah.
But you look at the intruder world, they are worried about encryption and substitution as well as the high speed.
Of course, yeah, yeah.
So to some degree, if you're using approved product, you tend to get your security for free because nobody makes a pure fire product, they make a fire and security product. And because security will have the higher encryption levels, which aren't required by fire, you'll just get it for nothing.
Yeah, which is an added bonus, I suppose. Really.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, 'cause we're very much in the domestic world. You cover domestic, commercial, everything.
Yeah.
And it's more on the commercial side where you've got that massive security fire crossover, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it doesn't come into the domestic, it does. But yeah, I think more so on the commercial side.
But it's going to be an interesting future. Things will change.
I fully agree. I think we can probably carry on nattering till
we
the cows
probably
come
can.
home. So I think it's probably at some point we need to call time on this. But
pull my string and I carry on talking.
Likewise, and the more technical and standards and just keep going. So
people should really need a bingo card with a number of standards on.
We do,
and we'll tick them all
see
off.
How many we can get through in one session? We should do that again and see if we can beat our count on this one. But genuinely, Will, I can't thank you enough for coming in.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to talk about the FIA. For those people who aren't aware of the FIA, please get involved, see what they're doing, even if it's not as a membership capacity, maybe from support or anything like that. Really brilliant technical department. So say if I have a question and I can't answer it, it will be the FIA technical team who I would go to as well. So there's a lot of really, really good stuff happening. A lot of good working groups. A lot of committees, councils doing a lot of good work. And we haven't even mentioned half of the things at the board and there's some of the other affiliates.
Yes, the CEO.
Yeah, there's loads. There's probably that's a good opportunity to say, please come back. We'll do this again. Hopefully we'll
always
have
come
a full
back.
team. We can get Neil, hopefully he'll have recovered from this and onto get Neil in the office as well, and Rob as well. Wet isn't my really area, but I'm sure there's a place to discuss that as well.
Well, domestic sprinklers.
Yeah.
It's we're close enough to require. We're not far away for requiring domestic sprinklers, are we? We're very close to Wales.
There in Wales, yeah, exactly. Scotland is
flats is coming in. Yeah, is sprinklers in flats. We see misting systems more and more as well. Yep. So there's a crossover, So maybe there's another and get Robin as well. So that'd be good. So again, thanks very much, Will. Is there anything else before I've missed? No, I think so. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's
Absolute
a
pleasure.
lovely building.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you very much, and please tune in again. All the best.
It was fantastic to hear from Andy speak and Will Lloyd there from the FIA, giving us a great insight into the work the FIA do and supporting our industry. But that's not all we have on this episode. What do we have next, Holly?
So, as always, we're going to round up the episode with a popular frequently asked question. And this week we're going to look at how to maintain your alarms.
We do get asked how to maintain the alarms. As per the British standard, we recommend that you just get the small attachment, the vacuum cleaner, and just hoover around all the vents.
So hopefully you found that video helpful and you realise the importance of maintaining your alarm. It's really vital to make sure your alarm is working because it ensures that your family and your home are safe in the event of a fire.
Yes, it is really important to maintain your alarms, as Holly said. That's all we've got time for this week on this episode. Please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can catch up there with all the previous episodes as well as other content we've published. And please don't forget to follow us on social media on such platforms as
Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram and TikTok.
Brilliant. Thank you for watching and we hope to see you again next week.
See you.
Bye-bye.